Hi fam, welcome to Flower City Blooms. My name's Miguel Cortez. It's finally here, man. We are going to plant this weekend. Months of preparation, lots of planning. Just kind of going to go over the plan, go over some basics here, lay it out. Next to the plan, you will see it says reality, which we'll discuss why there's a separate thing for there, and some goals. But we'll start with the plan. This is mostly going to be done today. I'll shoot a bunch of other videos of me mixing the soil. We'll get into that. I hope your garden's growing well. I hope you're doing well. Let's just kind of get into it and see what's going on. On the Thursday evening, I started a seed sprout tea. Seed sprout tea. You can use like pretty much any seed. Alfalfa's a good one. I use popping corn. I had some organic popping corn. You let it soak for 12 hours. And then you rinse it daily, drain it, rinse it daily, put it someplace, and wait for the seeds to sprout. Basically, you're just trying to get them to germinate, so you just get the tips coming out. The reason I'm doing that is it releases hormones and enzymes that are good for germination. So if that does sprout like it's supposed to, and here I'm figuring 24 to 72 hours. Today's Saturday, so like tomorrow morning, I'm hoping. I'm going to grind it up in a blender I have with some aloe. I'm going to add some root wise from Build a Soil. It has mycorrhiza and stuff like that in there. And I'm going to germinate right in the dirt, right in a little nursery pot. You'll see me put them in there. There'll be another video. I also have some seeds from a buddy of mine from the late 90s, early 2000s, 20, 30-year-old seeds. He's been trying to get to pop forever. And the truth of the matter is, they probably won't pop. But I am going to throw as many of them. I'm going to do cotton pad. I'll do some of those in soil. I'll do some of them with a 24-hour soak. Try a bunch of methods with this mixture. Because if I can get one to root and root it out in the nursery pot, I can give it back to him. It was his uncle's seeds. He is super, super psyched to try to grow the cannabis that his uncle grew, that he grew up smoking. So I'll be throwing those in there too. Germination, I'm hoping to take 3 to 6 days. Little come up. I'm going to do germination with 1.5 ounces because my pots are right around, I think, a pint, point four, I think is what they said. 1.5 ounces, about 5 to 10%. I just want to keep the seed moist and humid. I'll do humidity with a nursery dome. You want high humidity in the dome. DLI, when you're watching other people's weed videos, if you get into like, I don't know, Mr. Grow It, the Grow Room, DLI stands for Daily Light Intensity. And mine, I'm going to go for 18 hours. Basically, it's your light cycle. I'm going to go 18.6. When you're germinating, you don't really need them, but it doesn't hurt to have the lights on there anyways. So I'm just going to do that, help me monitor the tent, help me check out that all my numbers are going to match up, make sure the temperature stays stable, things like that. All right. And then we have photosynthetically active radiation is PAR. Photosynthetic photon flux density, which sounds like you're going to time travel, is PPFD. The only reason I'm throwing them down there and putting those long names out is because when you hear heads, grow me's talk about growing, they're going to use PAR and PPFD a lot. PPFD is what you measure PAR in. So I'm going to start mine off in the seedling stage around 2 to 300, 2 feet above the plants, set at about 20%. I have a PAR meter, a light reader. It's a cheap one I got off Amazon. I don't know how accurate it is, but this is the light instructions from Infinity. And I'm going to see if it roughly matches up with there. A lot of these temperatures, a lot of these measurements I'm getting are right off of Build a Soil has like a cheater graph in their blog. It's very difficult to find, but I did find it. And if you're really interested, DM me and I'll take a real close picture of the actual URL. So you can print it out. It's pretty neat. Goes over seedling stage, temperature, suggested temperature, everything suggested, of course. We'll get into, the difference between cultivars and phenomes a little later in this video. Kind of basically explain that this is a guideline. That's why I have reality over here, because not planning is planning for failure, but the best laid plans, they very rarely work out to be accurate. So that's where I'm going to have my lights at. I have my exhaust set for 5 minutes on, 15 minutes off. I think I'm going to keep that throughout the grow unless I see the need to change it, like it's crushing my temperatures or lowering my humidity too much, and then I can stretch it or whatever. But like that's where I'm going to start at for no reason besides seems like a good exhaust schedule for me. And then up here, that box in the ceiling right there is a fan. That's an exhaust fan I had built way prior to this because I like to smoke my reefer down here, my herb, whatever word you prefer. And so that exhaust, it's teed into the dryer, goes right outside the house. So I have my tent exhausting into this lung room and this lung room exhausting outside. So I'm not too worried about air exchange because my stairs going upstairs don't have a door on it. And we have 2 dogs, my wife. Hopefully, the carbon dioxide from upstairs is always falling downstairs. My furnace is down here. That should all help. Fans I'm keeping on always at 5. Once I get the plants growing in there, I'll watch how hard the leaves are moving and things like that, and I'll make a decision if I need to up them or lower them. Depending on what stage of vegetation, fruit, wind burn. But basically, the goal is just air movement, and I have 2 clip-on infinity fans in a 4x4. Should be plenty of air movement at 5, in my opinion. We'll see. Temps I'm going to set at. The suggested temp is 75 to 85. It's been holding down here at around 70, but winter's coming. I live in upstate New York. That's where Flower City is. And like right now I'm 72. I'm betting in February, like 70 is going to be hard to hold. But I should be closer to flower then, so it'll work out all right. Temperatures is something to be aware of. I have one of these oil space heaters. I have dehumidifier. I have a humidifier. There's a vent in my vent right off my furnace that I could actually open and dump heat in here, or central AC. So we have things to mitigate that. We'll see how it works. This is my first grow indoors. I'm super excited, man. So temps, that's where they want them. I figure I'll be able to keep them 65 to 75. That's in Fahrenheit. 24 to 30 degrees Celsius is the suggestion if you're anywhere else in the world besides our stubborn country. So that's there. Humidity 75 to 85%. Normally, that's not going to happen. This is seedlings. Again, that dome. Spray it with water. Keep the vents closed. Real easy to maintain, actually, the humidity there. I've been using these little, jar humidifiers to check it out with the dome beforehand. And I'm pushing 90, 95 if I spray too much water in there. I almost have to be careful. So, once they pop, my plan is to pop. I have 5 Hella Jelly seeds and 5 blueberry muffin seeds from Humboldt Company. They're known to be good genetics. I've watched them grown. There's the grow room, I think it is. His name's Dakota. He's from Canada, but he's in Medellin now. He's won cannabis cups down there. He actually does really good videos, high-end production, not off his phone like me. And he's done one of Hella Jelly and he's done one of blueberry muffin. So if you want to see these plants grow known right, like award-winning, check his channel out. But that's where I picked them from. They looked good. They're shorter. They're squattier. The outdoor I grew, my first plants were Durban Poison. They were 8 feet tall. For my first grow, I don't want to deal with space and all that. My first grow, I don't want to scrog. I will scrog later. We'll get into what that is. That's in the goal list. But that's not for this video. This one, we're going to do trading when it gets in vegetation. I'll touch on that in a minute. So I want to root out the nursery pots for 12 to 20 days. I'm hoping that's enough time where I can transplant. Again, the plan may not go that way. Hopefully all 6 germinate. If they don't, then I'll go with whatever germinates. But I do have 6 7-gallon pots in the 4x4 cloth pots. That's the plan for me. Probably only will fill them like 6 gallons full because I want to leave room for top dressing because everything I want to do is going to be all organic. I want to do the living soil. I'd like to do the build a soil way actually and get a 3x3 bed for in there, but man, it's expensive to start off, man. And like just these bags of soil I'm going to touch on in the base, which is just enough to really try to do what I'm doing now, 40, maybe 80 gallons, not even 80 gallons of soil, it cost me almost like $200. So we'll build soil, recycle soil till we can collect enough soil to do the living bed. I have a compost bin outside I'm working on, so in 2 years I'll have that. I have a worm compost bin here I'll show you in a second. Yeah, so that's the plan, man. Hopefully all 6 germinate. If they do, we're going to do it. We're going to transplant and pre-cook soil. So later today, when I'm mixing this soil, I'm going to put the dirt in all those pots, even though, we're talking 2 weeks before I'll need them probably. I'm going to take, and I'll do a video on it. You can see it if you want. But I'm going to take the nursery pots and kind of like place hold the middle where I want to transplant to be, put all the soil in, and I'm going to plant, maybe my hat's not the best place for this microphone if it keeps falling off. Let's try. Sorry, guys. These videos will get better as they go, but I am learning and just trying different stuff out here. So I'm going to plant alfalfa, and I'm going to plant clover. These are both plants that will help lock nitrogen into the soil. And I'm going to plant them around the ring, everything but where that center place holding pot's going to be. And then I'm going to put them in the tent. I'm going to water them. Watering has me super nervous because, like, overwatering stunts growth. Underwatering stunts growth. And I've set these times to try to get these plants in and out because the 6-month harvest it took for poison Durbin drove me nuts. I am not a patient man. And gardening is a thing of patience. It's one of the gifts it's going to give me. It's going to teach me that I'm not in control and that I need to give myself to the project and understand that in order to get the right product, the healthy plant, it's not about me. It's about the plant, So I'm hoping that that'll help me grow as a person while I'm growing these plants. So fans, temp we've done, humidity we've done. We're doing the pre-cook of the soil. The reason I want to pre-cook it and put the water and the lights and stuff in there is with organic gardening, the nutrients is basically locked in the soil. You've got minerals, you've got microbiology in there that's probably laying dormant because it needed the water and needs the aeration and the soil from the water coming down. I mean, you could study microbiology way beyond me being able to do it. I'm just telling you theories and my opinions on them. But I think that if I give it a week or 2 weeks to let that top crop come up and to let the microbiology get active, when I go to transplant, there should be available food ready for the plant to take. So, that's the reason. Then on top of that, I'm going to do dry leaf mulch, which people I know are going to say I'm crazy because I rake those leaves from my front yard. And that means that there's a very large possibility that there are eggs of creatures that could do damage to a plant. However, I know my neighborhood very well, and there's very little plant damage anywhere in the neighborhood via insect. I haven't seen anything, and I've been growing outside for a while as far as vegetables and flowers and things of that nature. So I'm gonna use it. It was free mulch, man. So we'll see. We'll see if that bites me in the ass or not. So we're rudinating, pre-cook the thing. So soil, right here, I have Fox Farm soil. This is worm castings. This is pumice, like the rock. And this is peat moss. The nice thing about starting off when you're not trying to recycle the soil is like that Fox Farm. There's people that have said it's too hot. There's too much nutrients for a small plant. Not necessarily the case. A lot of people use it. Most people use it to start off with. That soil has perlite in it, peat moss in it already, fish emulsions, crab meal, shrimp meal, worm castings, backguano, kelp meal, oyster shell, sandy loam. It's everything. All this stuff I'm doing, you don't need to make it that complicated. You could throw a plant in that bag of Fox Farm and go. I just I want to do it my way. I want to do it the ways I've seen people that I respect and I've seen successful out there do it on. So, that's it. It's going to be Fox Farm, I've got a bag of worm castings. I've got some pumice. Normally I would do 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, but because the Fox Farm already has perlite and peat moss and everything else, I'm going to do probably 1 to 1 to a quarter to a quarter. It's kind of how those bag sizes are. I might do 1 or 2 to 1 to a quarter to quarter. It doesn't matter. It'll be fine. I'm not worried about that. Really touched on the top crop for the soil. Once roots take place, once it's rooted good, and I know they're healthy in there, and I'm in the vegetation state. We're about to go to trading. I'm gonna plant a second garden over here, and that one's gonna be cucumbers, tomato, lettuce, peppers, and a couple autos. That room is extremely underpowered. I have two 100 Vivo Sun lights I bought for like $1.25 off Amazon. I've got an oscillating fan, a heat, and it's just like an open room that I wrapped in Mylar. No wood frame, nothing, just Mylar hanging on curtain rods from the ceiling. And I know it's underpowered, so I'm probably going to run that light cycle 28 hours a day, on, 4, off. Because if I stress the DLI, the daily light integral, I'm getting them more sun. It's just not as intense. We'll see, man. Like, I'm hoping for good things, but like environment control in there is going to be tough. I know it's going to be tough. And environment, I don't want to say it's everything. Genetics are equally as important, but you know, if you count your soil and light as environment, temperature, humidity, everything else, like that's what's going to make a banging product. You know. Speaking of banging products, my outdoors only 2.5 weeks into cure, but I felt like that was a good time to take a taste test, and I smoked it last night for the first time. Came out all right, kids. Came out all right. All right, so where are we? Vegetation. I want the vegetation stage to take about 21 to 40 days, with that 7 to 10 day rooting transplant time that I put up here included in that. During veg, IPM. IPM stands for Integrated Pest Management. Uh, the way it seems to be accomplished by most people is through essential oils. Like I had, I don't know what you call them, those things. The mister someone got me. So tea tree is one that's known to, keep them away. Lemongrass is one that's known to keep them away. Eucalyptus is one that's known to keep them away. Lavender is good for it, and peppermint. And the reason you want so many is because like they will build a tolerance. The eggs, the young insects that you don't want, the negative ones, non-beneficials. And if you rotate it, keeps them out of the toes. They can't do it. I also did get this bottle of crop control by Trifecta. It's all organic. I bought it went to outdoor because I got a little powdery mildew, but I was so late and bought it. I didn't want to spray that shit on it. I want to spray oils on it, so I just used hydroperoxide and water to kill the powdery mildew. So I'm stuck with this whole bottle that's perfect for IPM. So I'll do that once a week, Wednesdays or Sundays probably. And every now and then with the foliar sprays, I'll include lactic acid bacteria. So we're starting with the sea sprout tea that I'm going to blend with aloe and then add the root rise for germination. Another thing, as soon as they're germinated and in that 10 to 12 days, I'm going to make this lactic acid bacteria. And what it is you take rice water, and I'll do a video on it, and you rinse it, you get the cloudy water. You put it in a shallow like Tupperware with a paper towel so it's breathable on top of it. Rubber band the paper towel, let it sit for 2 days. When it smells sweet, you know that it's fermented enough. Then you take 1 part of that to 9 parts of milk, paper towel, put it aside, leave it for until you'll see it. It'll separate and you'll have like a clear liquid and you'll have cheese, farmer's cheese at the top. And what lactic acid bacteria is a probiotic. So what it is you water the dirt with it, and those minerals, the microorganisms in the earth, it helps break down the food, what makes it plant available faster. Long story short, and it's really good. Then the next step is once I have that, and I make some farmer's cheese, I have lactic acid bacteria. Is if I mix lactic acid bacteria with molasses with a fruit, I'm going to use pumpkin, and put in a 5-gallon bucket and ferment it over there. Basically becomes a flowering nutrient during flower. So those are going to be some things we're going to work on, do some videos with, and everything else. And I will mix the lactic acid bacteria every now and then, maybe every other week, into my IPM foliar spray. So My plan is to top dress every 21 days. Top dressings, I've got all sorts of cool stuff. I've got this Kashi blend from Organic. I've got Build the Soil's Craft blend, which will be my vegetative top dress. I have Build the Soil's Build a Bloom, which, it's got the 10 phosphorus, which will be for flowering. I have Kaiua extract, which is a wetting agent. So every time I water, I'll mix a little of this in. And what it does is it helps break the surface tension of the dirt, basically, that might be hydrophobic. And it lets the water seep slowly and evenly water the pot, which should help me with overwatering or underwatering. Pretty excited about that stuff. Doesn't take much, man. A couple pinches in the water, shake it up, you're good to go. And then I have Clackamas Coots Gnarly Barley, which I just bought for some extra fun. And then root-wise, in the transplant, I forgot about that. This has got your mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza in the human body, like your nerve endings, communicate by passing chemicals through walls, and that's what brings us pain and pleasure. It's a good way to kind of think about it. Around the roots, mycorrhiza is a fungal network that allows the roots to easily uptake, give sugars back, communicate in the soil. I'm really butchering that. I'm sure I am. But from a dummy's perspective, that's essentially kind of like how the microbiology might work on it. So this stuff with the top dress, we'll throw that on. You want to make sure you're top dressed 10 to 14 days before you think the plant's going to need food. You basically are just trying to keep this dirt always active, always break down, always feeding the plant and taking from this plant. And so in between my top dressings, I'll water with teas. Teas are pretty easy, man. Take a handful of worm castings, handful of any of those amendments if you want to, tablespoon in that range of molasses, dump it in your water reservoir, run an air pump, 24 hours, 12, 18 hours, anywhere in that range. Boom, tea. What you've basically done is all the stuff I talk about, the dirt breaking down, you've made it happen in a soluble form. Now you water it in, food for the plants, man. Good stuff. So I'll do teas about every 14 days, top dressings about every 21 days. Obviously, if the plant needs something, I'll brew a tea right away. If I decide I'm going to go into flower and it's not in this range, I'll throw Build a Bloom on top of it. We are going to address. That's what the reality empty column is for, is as these time frames go by or are done earlier, we're going to do them in. I've also got notebooks over there. I have more than 6 of them. So I'll have one notebook for every one of the plants, where I will notate everything I do every time I'm in the garden. Organization, man. It's the only way I can work and be successful at just about anything, because I like to smoke. I might like a cocktail here and there. And sometimes if I'm not paying attention to stuff, it slides by me pretty easy. So I'm sure that there will be stubbles, and they'll be on this camera, and you can see them, but we'll fix it if they learn from it. So top dress, water with teas, increase the light to 40 to 80% as it's vegging. You know what I mean? When you go into flower, you pretty much want to be close to 100% if you're not already there. PPFD suggested off the charts 5 to 800, temp in the 70s, humidity 55 to 65. As they veg and they get bigger, you kind of slowly lower the humidity when you go into flower, and you'll see in a sec, we're going to dump it. And there's reasons for that. And then flower, the breeder says 45 days. I'm saying 45 to 60, because seldom have I watched other people's videos where they pull them on the breeder recommended day. Usually takes a little longer, sometimes significantly longer. The DLI, daily light intensity, we switched to 12-12. We're going into flower now. You flip that light to 12-12, that's day 1 of flower. So that 45 days starts when we go to 12-12. You basically want, like I said, now in flower, you want your temp 55 to 65, humidity 40 to 50%, cold and low, because you want to stop the possibility of powdery mildew. I got it outside because we're a high humidity, rainy fall type of place. That shit's a bitch. It's tough, man. And then worse is bud rot. You get a big dense cola and you got high humidity in there, the mold will start growing inside, like it would grow inside a dirty hippie's dread. You know what I mean? And you don't even see it till you crack it open and your whole crop's ruined. And it's like, my Lord, I just spent 3-4 months of my heart, or money, time, my love, my patience, and nothing to show for it. And I'm sure it's going to happen to me, and I will cry in front of you. And that's okay. But if I keep my humidity down to 40, very less likely. But, mold doesn't like growing in that environment. So, that's the thing with that. Now, I like to dry my plants whole. Takes usually 8 to 12 days. Last one took 11 when I did the outdoors, but those were pretty big plants. Then cure, I do it for 30 days. First week, I burp it twice a day. The jar, burping, just opening, let the air exchange, make sure the humidity is right. Second week, once a day. Third and fourth week, 2-3 times a week. And then we celebrate and we'll smoke the bud together. That's the plan, fam. We've got reality over here. And on reality, I wrote down some words I wanted to talk about. Cultivar and strain. Type of weed you've got. Poison, Durban, if it's, it's the name of the weed. And then there's phenotype. And I just want to touch base on this. And that's why I want to grow multiple of the same plants. Is because phenotype, imagine you have two parents, which we all did. It's guaranteed. The thing is, and you have, let's say, 3-4 sisters, brothers. I don't, but let's say you have. One could be a redhead. One could be a brunette. One could be athletic. One could be a nerd. One could, like, it's amazingly different that with the same genes, you can get such a different result. So if you're growing 3 plants, one may behave much differently. It might be hungrier. It might need more water. So this plan is bullshit. It's a guideline. And then we're going to see what the plants are going to give us. And I'm going to take my time with it. And then in the future for goals, like on this run, I want to clone these. I want to make some mother plants I've never cloned before. I want to make that lab. I never made that. I did make a tea for the outdoor, so I kind of got a handle on that. The next grow, when this one's done, I want to do like 1, maybe 2 plants in like 10-gallon pots, and I want to do a scrog screen, and I just want to play scrog. So we'll do that. The veggies and autos in this other room, which we'll see during this grow. That's a goal for me. It'd be really cool if I can get that cucumber to crawl up my basement wall and have like a live green living wall, man. That'll make my day. And then down the road a couple years, if we're still kicking around, if I'm still videotaping this stuff, maybe toss some pollen. I'll do it outdoors because I don't like the idea of doing it inside. I'll do some outdoor plants, but like maybe take, I don't know, something really land-raised sativa, like a poison Durban. And maybe take something, I don't know, really, really dank indica short stocky and just put them together, make some seeds, and then bring those seeds inside and see what we come up with. So that's the plan. That's my day. That's my weekend. I'm gonna get off this video, figure out the angles for this camera, play with time lapse, and I'm gonna mix some soil. And then I'm going to fill those pots, like I said, plant the alfalfa and the clover, get all the nursery pots set up and ready. And then as soon as that corn sprouts, we will do a germination video. And then we're going to hang out for a little while and maybe come over to Instagram and check it out and look at it. I wanted to do this video live, if you're still sticking around at the end here, but I couldn't because I don't have 50 subscribers. So like, I could give a shit about it. But like, if you haven't subscribed, if you could subscribe, if you could hit the like, whatever it is, because it'll open tools that I can use on YouTube. And that way, if people had questions while I was going through all this, instead of me going back and looking them up and answering them, I could have talked to you, if that interests you or not. But that's one for the plan. That's one for step 1 for today. And until I see you later today, stay grateful, fam.